We're going to be talking about some interesting topics today. Boston Dynamics Robo puppy, which is about to go into production and hit the streets. Also today we're going to be talking about Walmart's new artificial intelligence takeover, their new store. We're also going to be talking about Tesla's new concept for an autonomous taxi fleet, which may be causing trouble with friends at Uber and others. And also, Elon is talking about launching a new internet service, which may cause a disruption in the internet service business, or ISP. And finally, we're going to be talking about all the hype surrounding the brand new Oculus Quest. So yesterday at F8, Mark Zuckerberg announced the launch date. So we're going to talk about all the hype surrounding that and a couple other things that happened yesterday. So welcome to the show. What's different about this new show is we kind of provide you with some options to let us know how you think. And so you kind of get to vote on these new stories. And since it's live, it's the best way to use this technology, which hasn't even released yet. So be a part of this special moment with us and enter the future. And then stick around after, because we have a really cool live trivia quiz game where we want you to challenge your colleagues and see how well you do with all this futurist knowledge that's out there in the world. And the more you watch, the more you might be able to answer these questions here. So let's jump right into the first story there. And the first story is about Boston Dynamics. So basically they introduced some new capabilities here on the stage here at TechCrunch. And basically they talked about the use cases and what you can do with this actual puppy here. And so one of the big parts about this puppy is the fact that it can they estimate that basically around the world there's 1 trillion cubic foot boxes that are moved around the world every year. And most of that's not automated. So they're aiming to bring these dogs to the forefront for different use cases, in which they've redesigned the skins to work better and protect it when it doesn't fall. It also has 2 sets of cameras in the front, and then it also has 1 on each side and 2 in the back, so we assume that those are probably depth sensors, and so it can see in all directions. There's also a demo of the Massachusetts State Police using this for basically its ability to open doors and potentially get human officers out of the way or hostages in a terrorist situation. Also, they've talked about using it at construction sites, in which they have these dogs kind of run around the construction site and monitor the progress of each construction site. And so they were basically saying, you think that's a low-end task, but these companies have thousands of sites and they have to patrol them at least a couple times a week to know where there's progress. And so if you use Spot for that, that will make their lives a lot easier in a sense. So the company plans to manufacture around 100 in the initial run, and they haven't talked about pricing, but it seems like they're on track for a July release. And so look at these videos here of these dogs in the corrals. They're kind of going through simulations of different environments, and they're in the middle of machine learning. So that's kind of like the thing about AI, is it starts off really dumb in a sense, and so going through the simulations, it figures out what works, what doesn't, and so it's actually learning to do better. And what's interesting about robots too is if they're reporting their learnings to a cloud, then all of the robots sort of learn over and over the air update. So check out this training simulation here for the police. And you can imagine pulling out perhaps even removal of a bomb, or look at it going through these different terrains which really have no particular design. And so these robots have to, on the fly, figure out how much pressure to apply to each leg, and etc. So it's really incredible seeing what these guys can do, trekking through that snow and stuff. And I mean, this is still not completely out yet, so they've advanced a lot. So yeah, so what did you guys think about that story? It's pretty incredible. It seems like it's on the way and about ready to launch, and this can be a regular part of our society soon. I've even seen some applications of people like them being able to pick up wine glasses very carefully and throw away trash. So they are considering some home uses as well. And so that kind of brings on the question to you. Here's the question that we've got for you guys, and we want you to vote down in the comments here below. So the first question is, what are your thoughts on Boston Dynamics Spot Mini? Is it A, yes, take my money? B, why do we need these things again? Or C, no, haven't you seen Black Mirror? So where are your thoughts here? Tell us again in the comments below. We're watching here on LinkedIn Live. What are your thoughts on Boston Dynamics Spot Mini? A, yes, take my money. B, why do we need these things again? C, haven't you seen Black Mirror? Or write your own comment in the comment section below. We want to hear from you. And we're about to move on to our next story, so make sure you let us know what you think about this big breakthrough in robots and autonomy. All right, so I want to give a big shout out to J. Brian Hennessy, Cliff Baldridge, Abel, good afternoon everyone, Moshi, Adam, Karen, and J. Brian Hennessy again, because he's always showing love. All right, let's jump into this next story. And the next story is kind of interesting because it's for what most people see as the biggest retailer on the face of the planet. And so this is talking about Walmart, of course. And they're testing a new store called IRL, or let's see, one second here. Yeah, so they're testing this new store called the Intelligent Retail Lab, or IRL for short, which is obviously a play on internet slang in real life. And they're testing this in the Walmart neighborhood market in Levittown, New York. And it's one of their busiest neighborhood market stores, and it contains over 30,000 items. So the cameras here will monitor inventory levels to determine if staff needs to bring out more meat from the back room, refrigerators to stock the shelves, or if some fresh items have been sitting too long on the shelf and need to be pulled. So the idea is that AI will help the store associates know more precisely where and when to restock the products, and this in turn means customers will know the produce and meat is always fresh and in stock when they arrive. So the cameras and other sensors in the store pump out 1.6 terabytes of data per second, and the company insists that the tech isn't replacing jobs but instead frees up staff to interact with customers. The retailer says it will add to its US stores 1,500 new autonomous floor cleaners, 300 more shelf scanners, and 1,200 fast unloaders and 900 pickup towers. So, and ranging from the pickup towers that will help customers quickly grab their online orders to floor scrubbing robots. So basically, they're implementing robots. They're implementing cameras in the roof, which use computer vision. Now, what's different between this and Amazon's approach with the AI implementation is that it's not set up with computer vision to track the actual purchases that are coming off the shelf, and you can just walk out with it. It seems like they're still using some bots for checkout, and there is some scanning, but it seems like their main sort of objective here is to look at stock, freshness, and restocking, which you can imagine restocking on the level of Walmart is probably massive. And so what do you guys think about this concept of implementing AI into the stores? Does it have to directly affect you, meaning the customer, so you get to check out quicker? So in Amazon Go's case, you are dealing with a lot of facial not facial recognition, but object tracking and computer vision. And in a way, there are some privacy concerns that people may have about being tracked, but maybe it's the same rules as a CCTV. And we're just used to being filmed in stores anyways. Except for this case, you're going to have hundreds of cameras lined around the ceiling. So in this case, this seems to be benefiting Walmart a bit more. And the robotics claim that it's going to be better for the employee to be able to perform better by providing more like high touch customer service. So what do you think? Do you believe that about Walmart, and there'll be some high-touch customer service? Do people need to be doing these mundane, repetitive tasks? But let's jump into the actual question here, but you can answer all of those questions down below. I'm super interested to know what you guys are thinking about these topics, because this is the new world that we're entering here. And once Walmart and stores like that, we really got to consider it. So what do you think about the use of artificial intelligence in retail? A, great, no lines, convenient to me. B, bad news for employees with the potential of job loss. Or C, this is just gimmicky, it's a use of buzzwords and AI and blockchain and VR, AR, and whatever else will get you a headline, right? So sometimes it's gimmicky, sometimes it actually has business impact. So again, what do you think about the use of artificial intelligence in retail? Is it great because there'll be no lines? And if you've ever waited in line at a CVS or something like that, you know how heartbreaking it can be to have one item and stand there for 25 minutes. B, bad news for employees. There is a lot of impact on the job line there, potentially, not just at Walmart specifically, but across the board in retail. And C, this is gimmicky, this is just for headlines, and the store will probably flop or something like that. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And that's what really makes this special LinkedIn Live, is the fact that we can communicate in real time and bounce ideas off of each other and let each other know how we think as a community. And I think that's what's really powerful about this new tool that we're beta testing and still not everyone has access to. So make sure you check us out every Wednesday at 10 or 10:30. See, we got started late today, but it's like that. And also there's a trivia quiz after this, so make sure you stay tuned. We got a few more news stories, and then we're going to get into some fun trivia. All right, so let's move on to our next story here. And what we're going to be talking about, actually, let me jump into the comments really quick, because that's what's most important, is you guys out there. Let's see. Adam says there's a lot more to come. This is the decade of bots. I agree wholeheartedly, and also bots is not just bots. It's also like software-based AI. So a lot of people get hung up on the physical representation of a bot, but the brain itself can live on the cloud, and and have an impact as well. It's just less apparent to people. It doesn't look like Terminator or whatever. Okay. And they have to compete against Amazon, and this is an excellent way to do it. I agree, Adam. They have to compete. I think a lot of retailers got crushed in the e-commerce rush, and now this is sort of like the next revolutions that are happening, and Walmart, I think, can't afford, and they have an experimental lab. Walmart has an experimental lab, obviously, but they're taking it very seriously, and I don't think that anyone should doubt Amazon's potential to have a real impact in the retail space. But yeah, it's the whole ecosystem. I agree. Even delivery is like, big box stores delivering same day delivery. Now you've got these things like Instacart, and then those guys are getting kicked out by like Amazon. It's the industry is in constant flux. So you got to stay tuned in to what's happening ahead of the time, so that way your business is not impacted, and you don't want to be last to the race here. So anyways, thank you to everyone out there on LinkedIn Live interacting and letting me know how you think, and let's move on to this next news story here. So autonomy, okay, automation. Here we've got an interesting story where Tesla promises 1 million robo-taxis in 2020. And so they talked about a chip that they've introduced in which helps with their autonomous driving, and it's a specific chip that they had, a neural network chip which was built from the ground up. The project started back in 2016, and each computer which is stored behind the glove box has a redundancy, so if one chip fails, the second chip can take over. Another big highlight about this story was at the same time Musk threw shots at the entire LiDAR business, which is light detection and ranging, and it's basically a sensor that allows the computers to drive autonomously. And so he said LiDAR is a fool's errand. Anyone that's relying on LiDAR is doomed. And he later said it's freaking stupid, it's expensive, and unnecessary. So basically what he's talking about is that the cars could use regular cameras to use computer vision, and it's kind of quite interesting how rapidly computer vision is developing, which is artificial intelligence. And I'm seeing that with small cheap cameras, these cars can be driven. I've even heard of a story, which I won't mention names, but out here in Silicon Valley, someone had created a system that could drive a car with cheap Android phones, and so he was asked to stop by the DMV because he didn't have a license to operate, and so he responded by uploading everything open source to the internet. But that's a different story that has nothing to do with Tesla, but it's a testament to computer vision and how advanced it's becoming. And this is the computer's ability to see and then reason within the world that it sees and decipher objects, people, distances, and etc. And so and most auto manufacturers are planning on using LiDAR for their systems. So this new system that he's talking about introducing, outside of the technology of how he's going to achieve the autonomous vehicles, in the next 2 years, the company will be making cars without steering wheels or pedals at all. And he hopes to undercut Uber and Lyft with the cost per mile of robotaxi being less than 18 cents a mile. So typical ride sharing costs are about $2 to $3 a mile. So what he's saying is you buy your Tesla, and then I believe he estimates that the return on investment is $30K per year. And so so would you let your car go to work while you're at work? I know that sounds crazy, but that's where we are in this day and age. So, would you allow your car to go out, drive all day, Uber people around? Or sorry, I'm using it as a verb now. That's kind of like Google me something. That's how good their branding is. But yeah, I really like being picked up in an Uber by a Tesla. So I do like that. Now, if there was no driver, privacy would be really, really great. They say, actually, there's a study. It's a little raunchy. I apologize, LinkedIn Live, but they say that the amount of romantic activity will increase on the road due to autonomous vehicles. There's a study. Because basically what happens when autonomous vehicles become normal, you have an empty cabin and you can either do work, you can play games. Some say that with 5G you could do VR or AR experiences inside of the car. And I've seen a lot of these concepts at CES where Mercedes will have, no steering wheel, no pedals, and then the seats swivel to face each other. So you have two seats and two seats. So rather sitting behind each other, we're actually facing each other and maybe interacting or having some champagne. It means DUI is not a problem. Humans are not really great at driving, period, just with reaction time. So because of humans' reaction time, there is things like traffic. It exists just because people have low latency response, and or they're distracted, and car accidents, deaths. So there's a lot to lose here. And so if you think about the future, let's go a little bit ahead of Elon's sort of vision of his own personal robo-taxis. But if you think about all cars being autonomous, operating on a grid, in which all the cars are aware of each other and what each car is going to make a movement, then the rest of the cars can react because they know that car is going to make that movement before it happens. It means that you can operate potentially at hundreds of miles per hour, crisscrossing and missing each other by a millisecond. But there would be very low fatalities. I don't want to say none. I'm sure there's going to be some fatalities. And a lot of people will get outraged about autonomous vehicle fatalities. And there's some interesting exercises about autonomous vehicle fatalities, like where do we stand morally on the subject of an autonomous vehicle knows it has to hit either a group of people or one singular person. It has 1 second to react. What do we as a society decide? Is it the lower human impact, which is miss the crowd, hit the single person? Or is that car becoming a judge of whose life ends in that particular case? But if you think about human car accidents, well, we don't really have that amount of intelligence or choice in that matter. So there's a lot of things that are going to come with autonomous vehicles. Also shipping packages, e-commerce, how will that affect UPS and FedEx and those kind of grids of import-export and stuff. So there's a lot of interesting questions here around autonomous vehicles. And so let's get to the question here. Sorry, I kind of droned on a little long, but hopefully you enjoy the info. So here's the question. What do you think about autonomous taxis? Convenience and privacy for the win. A. Or B, the government would not approve of what Elon is pitching. Or C, hell no, I want a human driver. And I'm going to go ahead and pair C with hell no, I want to drive the car myself as well. Because in some cases, people do feel this way about autonomous vehicles, but I want to feel the engine rev. I want to feel the RPMs. And so that's great, but that's also very a selfish statement because it just means that you want to drive a vehicle at the risk of loss of life and traffic. But anyways, getting back to the question, what do you think about autonomous taxis? Convenience and privacy for the win. B, the government wouldn't approve. Or C, hell nah, I want a human driver. Get those robots out of my face. So, yeah, lots and lots of really exciting topics, and that's the thing. All of these things are converging at once. So let's see what LinkedIn is saying right now, and just hit a little. All right, LinkedIn. All right, Suresh. Hey, welcome back to the stream. Good to see you again. Christopher Brown. Cliff Baldridge says, nice stream. Thank you so much. You got some good streams too, man. Adam Schroeder. Okay, I like the idea of autonomous, but there's always an element of risk with the automation. Look at the Boeing 737 MAX. Wouldn't want to be the one who gets in an accident testing the difference between computer vision and LiDAR. Definitely. I agree with you. In other words, sure, an Android device can control a car cheaply, but you wouldn't want that. Success with the tech will drive the cost down. Tesla should put safety first, not price. And right now, LiDAR is a must because until recently, computer vision systems haven't been already. Okay, Tesla has a wreck with Semi because of the lack of LiDAR. C, I like my Bentley. Okay. That's really good input. So I agree. That dude's Android phone driving a car. I know the other person who was sitting in the car with him, and let's just say we didn't feel that it was the safest option. Like he was cruising around in the Tesla. It was a topic of conversation. Like, holy shoot, your Android phones are driving a car. However, it's a testament to what can be done. The development of LiDAR is important. There's also some eye safety issues with LiDAR and getting clearance on that. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, Adam, but basically these LiDARs have a rotating laser. And so by having these rotating lasers, there's a safety risk of when it's rolling around the streets that these high-powered lasers can hit people in the eye. And so there is still some problems to solve there. I think that with a high-resolution camera and not a crappy Android phone, but like a great processor, in a great system, I think that computer vision can be very helpful. If not, it may. I'm not saying LiDAR is a bad solution. They both have compromises. But imagine maybe a system in which you're using computer vision, but you have a lot of cameras. And so covering up all the blind spots, and since cameras are way less inexpensive than LiDAR, then you can implement an obscene amount of cameras. So it'll be interesting to see how it shapes up, and there is no right answer right now. So but I really enjoy your input, Adam, here. And one last thing here, I'm going to try to pick this up for Suresh before we jump into the next question. As long the roads in Autobahn are not equipped with sensors and all vehicles are equipped with standardized sensors like aircraft, it's kind of difficult to manage the future of street moving mobilization. Yeah, I agree. It's there's a lot of questions there, but there's a huge opportunity. So if you guys have any more thoughts that are not part of my question, please throw it down below, because I just love chatting about this stuff that's on the horizon. All right, I think we're going to move on to the next story. And remember, coming up soon is the Ultimate LinkedIn Live Trivia Quiz Challenge. And if you think that you are up to snuff, you think you can beat the champs out here on LinkedIn Live, those professionals that know everything, you will stay tuned. And then when you challenge your colleagues, you'll tag them so that way they show up, and then you play from question 1 to question 5, and then you count your score, and then you can then show off to the other one that they got destroyed in the LinkedIn Live. So then they got to come back next week and then try to step their game up. And so that's kind of what we're about Wednesday, 10 a.m. San Francisco time. Maybe 10:30. But every week, though. So, all right, let's move on to this next topic. And this is really interesting here. Yeah, this is SpaceX gains FCC approval for lower orbit internet satellites. And so let me tell you a little bit about this story. And so basically the idea is there's a plan to launch 12,000 satellites into Earth's orbit, and the FCC has approved 4,425 of Elon's Starlink satellites to basically be deployed in orbit ranging from 1,100 to 1,300 kilometers, okay? And so basically what happened was they launched 2 demo satellites back in February, and then they basically put in a request to see if they could be allowed to fly much lower at an orbit of 550 kilometers. And so the FCC has approved that change. And so by lowering the orbit, SpaceX realized that it could cut transmission latency just to 15 milliseconds while achieving the same amount of coverage using 16 fewer satellites. And any Starlink satellites that fail at this height will still burn up in the Earth's atmosphere, so there's no additional risk of debris compared to satellites in higher orbits. So, all in all, basically Elon is launching a network of satellites via SpaceX to beam inexpensive, high-speed internet to the world. And so what comes immediately to my mind is, what about traditional telecoms? So, we've been waiting for 5G over, a few years now. And basically it requires them to update all their hardware, which is their towers, and in some cases wiring and cables, which are terrestrial, which run under the ground. And so a lot of technology companies have been taking these aerial approaches, like Project Loon from Google and Project Aquila with Facebook, and in Starlink with Elon Musk. And so the idea is that being able to beam the internet down will reduce the amount of issues with infrastructure and probably allow us to reach, Mark Zuckerberg attempted to launch satellites to give Africa high-speed internet. So there's a lot of coverage that the internet needs over the planet. But then on top of that, what about upgrading those systems? So I can imagine that updating those satellites is going to be to speed up the internet for people. May be at a faster rate than what traditional telecoms can update to 6G or 7G. And now there are some considerations about frequencies and health concerns about people developing issues due to these 5G and 6G frequencies. 6G hypothetically, that's not a thing. But basically the question is like, you have Comcast and AT&T, and you have a lot of these well-known internet providers. And so this does allow some markets to be more competitive. So I know that maybe some of you out there have options to choose different internet service providers, but then in other cases there is no option. It's just, this is what's set up here and that's what exists and that's your choice. And so the idea is that Elon might be able to provide better pricing, better coverage, and the FCC is approving this. It is kind of odd to have that many satellites floating all around orbit. That is something to think about. Also, bringing these satellites closer to Earth which may expose us maybe to more harmful frequencies. And but think about the big picture with Elon, right? So he's got a network of autonomous taxis, hypothetically, or at least autonomous vehicles. And all those vehicles have receivers on them, which allow them to connect internet to the iPad in the center, and also to give just the computer onboard internet signal. And now he would be connecting it to his own satellites, which those satellites are launched via SpaceX, which are his own shuttles, which he's made it the cheapest possible to launch anything to space, more than anyone. So if anyone wants to launch anything in space, Elon's got the best deal in town. So here brings up this question that we have, and this question that we have for you is, what do you think of the FCC's approval of Starlink satellites? A, it's a bad idea, it's dangerous. B, competition is good for consumers. Or C, Elon, let's focus on Tesla first, all right? Whoa now. So, I'll give you that question again. What do you think of the FCC's approval of Starlink satellites? A, it's a bad idea. B, competition is good for consumers. Or C, Elon, focus on one thing at a time. Please, Tesla first. And so, yeah, so what do you guys think about that? A lot of interesting stories, a lot of interesting overlap, you know. Let's see what you guys got going on in the comments below, and big shout out to everyone who's out there watching. I think ultimately computer vision will get there. Interesting, good point. Soon. All right. Yeah, this is kind of an interesting story, and I'm glad that we got to. Michael Johnson says A. It's dangerous. Yeah. Could be, yeah. What's interesting on the and Frank Gannon says B, and Adam, I like Elon's bigger picture approach. Yeah. So, you know, outside of Starlink, I think Starlink, it's going to be a minute until it's operational and a threat from a health perspective, although it's a good time to talk about it right now while it's not out. But I think the other thing that's on the way, which is a lot closer, is 5G. And that's being launched by AT&T, Verizon, all of the major networks. And there is a lot of concern surrounding that as far as health goes. And it doesn't seem to, these issues don't seem to pop up in regular like pop culture or politics. It's so strange. It's like autonomous vehicles, it's you know, or just automation in general, you know, satellites and new internet, and I mean, where are we at? I don't know. But anyways, moving along, let's get over to this last story here. And I think as we talk about faster internet, there's one sector that is impacted a lot, and it's actually being showcased by those telecoms. So let's go back to the traditional telecoms. Basically, with the internet speeding up, a lot of the bets are on VR and AR, and by being provided fast, you know, sort of beautiful content on the fly. These are the next generation devices beyond cell phones, is AR and VR. And so there was one really, really hyped and important moment, two devices that were announced yesterday. Well, actually three, but two devices that were announced yesterday. and that was by Mark Zuckerberg at the F8, and what he was talking about is the Oculus Quest. Now let's talk a little bit about the hype around Oculus Quest and why this is a big deal. It's a big deal because in the past, if you've tried virtual reality and it involved a cell phone, you haven't tried virtual reality. Okay, maybe that's not true. You have, but you've had a terrible experience. If you have tried a high-end virtual reality rig, then there's one thing that's important, is that you're generally tethered, meaning a cable is running out the back of your head. So if you're going to do a 360 movement, that cable is going to get in the way and you're going to get wound up in that cable. So this new Oculus Quest that you're seeing right here, this is some of the promotional footage. It has inside-out tracking. It's wireless. You don't need a computer and you don't need a cell phone. So they've built it all into the front of the headset. Those four corners are tracking. They have depth sensors and they are tracking your body movement, your arms. So your punches, your movement, your dancing, all of that. And this is really a next level kind of experience. But what's amazing about it is that it's only $399. And you don't need a high-end computer. You don't need a cell phone. You're not clicking the stuff in and out. It's just a one touch. You touch the bottom. There's a power button, and it turns on. You see the interface, and immediately you can choose a game or a movie, etc. And so they've announced Oculus Go, which was $199, but it didn't have that body tracking. And so here you're looking at some footage back last year at Oculus Connect, in which I actually got to try the Oculus Quest and see if it was met up to all the hype. So what happened yesterday was at F8, we already knew the specs, we already knew all of the details about this headset, but we did not know when it was going to come out. So yesterday they opened for pre-orders, Best Buy opened for pre-orders, Amazon, all of the Oculus.com, they all opened for the pre-orders, and they're going to be fulfilling those orders on May 21st. So there's two options. There's a $399 Oculus Quest 64 gig, and then there's the larger 128 gig model. And that's the only difference between those two, and that's a $499 for the larger model with the larger hard drive. And what's really great about this is, I have a high-end VR rig, but, there's a lot of cables involved. Even just projecting to a TV or phones is not really streamlined. You got to run Steam, Link, and there's all this kind of stuff that you got to do. You got to run all these different softwares. And what Oculus offers is somebody who's new to virtual reality, who doesn't know anything about all the details, and can throw on this Oculus Quest, hit the power button, and be immersed directly. You can map the room. It has cameras in which when you get close to your furniture, it will alert you inside, hey, let's take a step back. This is more advanced than the PlayStation VR, if you've tried that. So, and alongside that, there was not the only announcement. They also announced the Rift S. And so if you know Facebook's Oculus, the staple has been the Rift, but it's been years since they've launched a new headset. So they partnered with Lenovo in order to announce this new headset, and some of the design is a collaboration. So you see definitely the influence, and doesn't necessarily look like all the Rift products or the Oculus products we've seen in the past. But it does have some major advantages, and it says a lot about what their stance is on the future of virtual reality. So in the past, you had these, if you wanted the body tracking, you'd have these little sensors that kind of sit on little tripods. And you have to put them in the room, and then you have to make sure that they're calibrated correctly, and then you watch the software, and then you go back and forth until it's set up. And then if you move it, then you got to kind of reset it all up. So what they announced was basically they're getting rid of the sensors, moving forward with the company, which Some enthusiasts like the sensors because of more accuracy on tracking. And that's because you can buy a third sensor and put it behind you and track your back. Where with this, all the sensors are built onto the headset. So on the Quest, they have it in the four corners. And on the Rift S, which is also $399, but you need a high-powered computer, it has a fifth sensor on the top. So it's basically has this dome that it's capturing all the movement and tracking, etc. So it was an interest. There was a couple other weird drawbacks with the Rift S that some people were a little bit disappointed in, was the sensors. They also had some concerns about what's called an IPD adjustment, or interpupillary distance. And so basically it's the distance between your eyes, how separate they are from each other. So most headsets have a mechanical IPD, and when you do that adjustment, you can move the lenses so that way things don't look blurry. And so they removed that, but it's on the Quest. So basically they believe that most people will fall within the range of a software-based IPD. And so the Rift S is software-based. I've never experienced a software-based calibration of interpupillary distances. So I couldn't tell you about it, but all my headsets have mechanical ones. So we'll have to wait and see. But those were the really big announcements surrounding those. And so this could be the next generation of being able to, grab a VR setup, go to the park or go anywhere, a friend's house, pull this headset out, turn on the controllers, and that's everything. And so myself, I am going to get the Oculus Quest. I'm debating the Rift S because I have a Samsung Odyssey Windows Mixed Reality, and turns out my display is still better. C'est la vie. But I am definitely looking forward to the Quest, and so I think this will change the adoption rates in the VR industry. And so let me give you our last news story question for the day, and then stay tuned because we're going to be doing the live trivia challenge. So here we go. Are you going to order the new Oculus Quest? A, yes, I can't wait. Some of us have been waiting for months. B, mobile VR. Ew, get that out of my face. Or C, nope, I have privacy concerns. It's still Facebook at the end of the day. And so what do you guys think? LinkedIn Live. Are you going to order the new Oculus Quest? A, yes, I can't wait. Or B, mobile VR. Ew, you're like part of the PC master race. Or C, no, I have privacy concerns. And I want to hear what you think, LinkedIn Live. So this has been one of my favorite features, is to be able to connect with you guys and talk to you about these subjects that I think is really interesting, important, and great for the sort of public town square, so to speak. Let's jump into some comments here. Suresh says, idea is good, but we should not pollute the space. We have lots of submarine cables that are out there. First, we should use the full capacity of those physical layers. Ha! Okay. I really like that, Suresh. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. What do you think about the rate of innovation, though? So there is a waste that is being had, but then there is the demand, the physical demand of the planet, and the race for every single year, faster internet, faster innovation, faster business, faster living. Of course it's not the organic option, and it's definitely not, some would debate whether that's healthy for us or not, but the will of the planet is generally to speed up, go faster. And so when a technology lags behind, sometimes it gets leapfrogged by something that's faster, more efficient. But I do agree there is some waste going on because we've spent billions of dollars trying to put cables under the ocean. Yeah. Okay. Alexander can't wait for the Quest. Combine the VR tech. This is Adam. Combine the VR tech with robotics like Spot and think of the jobs of the future. The idea of telecommuting to work is about to change dramatically. Think about how sitting in New York but using VR, you take physical control of a human-like robot or a humanoid to attend a meeting in San Francisco. You're literally using VR to walk around the streets of San Francisco in a robot body, having never left your living room across the country. All this tech is cool by itself, but combined it's even more interesting. I totally agree. Big shout out to Richie again. Thank you for tuning in. Karen and Jim and Suresh and Alexander and Adam. I totally agree. This idea of robotic telepresence is really cool. We've seen some of these examples already with just like low tech, like the thing on wheels that looks like a Segway and it's got a screen. And some people use them in meetings and stuff like that. I know Ronnie Abovitz of Magically often uses them when he has to speak somewhere and he doesn't want to go there. Yeah. It also brings up the question of if we're going to use telepresence, is it better to do it through robotics or through like a hologram? Right? So in some cases, physical presence may be needed. And then in other cases, it could be just a projection. You could be projection mapped into the room without any kind of physical need for something to walk around and etc. Yeah, the jobs of the future, I don't know, because on top of that, we're not even sure how much AI will handle the need of all of those things. I mean, Google Duplex can call someone, place a reservation, say so maybe they could just send a hologram of you to go at some retail store or something, and you don't need to send a robot. Who knows? But yes, to wrap it up, it's not one technology or the other. It's the convergence of all of those technologies which makes this puzzle very, very hard to figure out. Anybody who is a futurist who says they know where it's going is full of cockamamie, okay? And that's because there's too much overlap. You can have an idea of where certain industries are going, but how it all ends up, I'm not sure. And I'm first to admit that. So, okay, cool. VR must go to normal wearable systems after, then VR will accelerate and transform our lifestyle. Really great input out here, LinkedIn Live. You guys are fascinating, and I love hearing from you. Cool. Well, the time has come. I want you to get amped. I want you to get excited because you're about to enter the LinkedIn Live Trivia Challenge. So what I'm asking you to do is to go in that comment section, hit the @ symbol, and tag someone so they can enter the live stream and you guys can go head to head on this trivia challenge that's about to happen here on LinkedIn Live Beta. Challenge your colleagues. Enter the ring here on LinkedIn Live Beta. Tag someone who you know will be knowledgeable, who can overcome the challenges that are ahead, the trenches. We are about to get into some deep, mind-numbing topics that not everyone has the answer to. But even if you don't have the answer, it's exciting and fun to play because we're doing it all together in real time, live on LinkedIn. Have you guys done it? Have you tagged your colleague? It could be a group of friends. It could be your boss. It could be your coworker, but you got to tag them. I'm going to give you a few seconds as they enter the chat. So that way you guys can start on the same question. Because obviously that's unfair. If you brag to someone that you beat them, but then they only answered 2 questions out of 5, then you're just mean. All right. We're going to jump into this first question. LinkedIn Live, if you're still with me, let your presence be known. All right, question number 1. Intel has opened a blank 3D capture studio used to scan people into virtual reality. Is it A, velocity, B, visualizer, C, volumetric, or D, vertical? Intel has opened a velocity 3D capture studio. Intel has opened a visualizer 3D capture studio. Intel has opened a volumetric 3D capture studio. Or Intel has opened a vertical 3D capture studio used to scan people into virtual reality. What do you think? You know, Intel is betting that whatever type of capture studio that is that I'm talking about right now is perhaps the future of film, the future of sort of like telecommunications or teleconferencing, and what it is basically, you know, regular 2D cameras, which is what we've known our whole lives, basically flattens all of the depth. And so with these new camera systems with volumetric, they use depth sensors to be able to detect the volume of how deep the ridges in your face are, you know, the width. And so basically they're capturing volume of the 3D object. And so the idea is that actors and you know, maybe even just regular like photo booths, maybe these scanning of ourselves, and then this can be seen in virtual reality or augmented reality or in 3D printing or in any case where a 3D object is perceivable. Then this will allow people to have captures of themselves as avatars when in VR. It also means that there's been some conversation around acting, and if someone's likeness could be captured and then using AI, could their body parts be pinned in order to make them move how they need to and talk and blink their eyes and etc. And so the idea would be, could people sell their likeness for infinite, perpetual royalty rights, and where like an actor can be put into new movies after they've died, where they're, you know, doing brand new movements, they're wearing new clothes, they're in new locations, but it's all based off of this one 3D capture that they did prior. So I think I may have, if you were listening to me rambling, I may have given away the answer, but that's the benefit of paying attention and not zoning me out. All right. I think we're going to reveal the answer here. I think it's worth, if you really need to know still. Intel has opened A, velocity, B, visualizer, C, volumetric, or D, vertical. I said it earlier, I always do this in every episode. C, volumetric, and that's because it's capturing an information that has depth. Volumetric video is worth looking at. It's really interesting. It goes alongside a technique called photogrammetry, in which where you can scan backgrounds or sort of locations using thousands of photos stitched together with an algorithm. And someone who does this really well is Simon Che de Boer. And I'd like to think of him as a world expert on the subject. And actually, he was on my podcast talking about scanning the pyramids or the tombs in Egypt. And so what he does is uses a combination of volumetric, video, RGB technology, and photogrammetry to scan places and faces. And I think he's also working on the new Notre Dame reconstruction. So quick thing about Notre Dame. Turns out one of the best scans that we have of Notre Dame, which is why this is important for historical preservation, scanning these locations, and that's what Simon Che de Boer does with his reality virtual company. They scan historical locations and to be able to preserve them forever for future generations. And I think it's something he wants to back up the planet. So I think it's something really exciting to think about. And the best capture that we have of the Notre Dame is Assassin's Creed. So if you know what Assassin's Creed is, that is playing a big role in the reconstruction of a church that's hundreds of years old and they invest billions of dollars in. So it's not just toys, guys. Games making a comeback here. All right, big shout out to Barry, Levy, and Adam and Suresh still holding it down here, and Jim Gordon. All right, question number 2. Let's get into it. Which of the following robots is not engineered by Boston Dynamics? A. Handle, B. Hitchbot, C. Atlas, or D. Spot Mini? What do you think? We talked about Boston Dynamics earlier. Which of the following robots is not engineered by Boston Dynamics? A. Handle, B. Hitchbot, C. Atlas, or D. Spot Mini? Make sure you vote in the comments below. What do you think? Well, I could tell you is we talked about Spot Mini, so that gives you a freebie there, and that was Boston Dynamics. So you got Handle, Atlas, and Hitchbot. What's your thoughts, guys? The one that is not engineered by Boston Dynamics. What do you guys think, LinkedIn Live? I'm going to let these votes come in. And in the meantime, big shout out to everybody out there watching live on the beta, LinkedIn Live. Hope you guys are enjoying it, the show, and having some fun. We do this every Wednesday, 10 a.m. Pacific time over here on the West Coast in San Francisco. But if we get started late, then we do 10:30. We're going to try to stabilize that for you, but, it's live. All right, awkward silence till you give us the answer. All right, I'll get to it. Thanks, Barry. All right, so the answer. Which of the following robots is not engineered by Boston Dynamics? It's B, Hitchbot. Hitchbot is actually a robot that was built to hitchhike across the United States, and he was sadly murdered, and no one found who did it. But he did travel. He had a hashtag, and he traveled across the United States. A lot of people took him into their homes, and he cared for him. But I guess he became too trustworthy with a pack of hooligans, and they wiped him off the map. They had him whacked. So, Handle is their sort of like Boston Dynamics a sort of, looks like an ostrich or a bird of some type, and it has like a balance that's like, looks like a tail or something that swings, and then it has a suction cup on the top, and it grabs these really heavy boxes, suction cups it, and then can carry like, you know, tons of weight. And then Atlas is the humanoid robot that can do backflips and can parkour. So that's our real threat there. Is probably, but he's not slated for any type of commercial release. They're only testing Handle and Spot Mini for now. So we'll see. I'm not sure what I would buy that for, but maybe to beat up the bullies. All right, let's get on to this question number 3. What is the name of HTC's recently introduced Netflix of virtual reality subscription service? Is it A, Viveport Maximum, B, VR Flix, C, Viveport Infinity, or D, VR Unlimited? So what is the name of HTC's recently Netflix of VR service? And what I mean by that is you can download as many, you have a subscription, and then you can download VR games like you would TV shows, a la Netflix. And the options are Viveport Maximum, VR Flix, Viveport Infinity, or VR Unlimited. What do you guys think? It's kind of interesting if you think back a few years when Netflix was introduced. This is kind of like it being introduced into a new medium. So the display or the TV is the VR headset in this case, and the content is not Netflix, it's HTC. But I have tried it, and I downloaded some cool games I wouldn't have otherwise, or cool experiences. It's not only video games. That wouldn't have otherwise tried, and I like the concept. They need more content, like more AAA titles and stuff, but I like it. I like the idea. Pay less, get more. You know what I mean? All right, so let's go back to that question real quick. What is the name of HTC's recently introduced Netflix of VR service? Viveport Maximum, VR Flix, Viveport Infinity, or VR Unlimited? Vote your answer below. Adam, haven't heard of it. Mark it better, please. I agree. They should send you a check. Now 53 people know about it. Hey, I'm not against it. HTC, if you're watching, DM me I'll give you my bank account information. All right. The answer to that question, Viveport Maximum, no. VR Unlimited, no. VR Flix looks like a lawsuit. So C, Viveport Infinity is the answer. All right. How you guys doing out there, LinkedIn? You scoring high? And by the way, if you like these live trivias, you can go into my feed and check out the last 3 streams. And they're really fun to play as well. We've had an AI versus AI, where we had Alexa versus Google Home. And they did a live showdown. Ha! There goes Alexa. Yeah. We've also done the world's first virtual reality live stream to LinkedIn Live, and a bunch of other stuff. So, yeah, we're trying to break the mold out here and have a little bit of fun on LinkedIn Live and not be 100% serious. Sue me. All right, here we go. We're going to go on to the 4th question of the day. Which technology is LVMH testing for product authentication and supply chain transparency? So before I get into the answers here, LVMH is Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy. And that encompasses like not just those brands, but it's the largest luxury or fashion company in the world. So it encompasses probably all the luxury brands that you're familiar with is under one umbrella, LVMH. Multiple champagne companies, multiple watch companies. So which technology is LVMH testing for product authentication and supply chain transparency? A, virtual reality. B, augmented reality. C, 3D printing. Or D, blockchain. I'm going to run that question again for you. Which technology is LVMH testing for product authentication and supply chain transparency? Is it A, virtual reality, B, augmented reality, C, 3D printing, or D, blockchain? What do you guys think? LinkedIn Live, I need to hear from you in the comments. Big shout out to everybody out there watching. I'm having a great time, and I love connecting with you guys out there. Cool. All right, are we ready? The answer might shock you. Which technology is LVMH testing for product authentication and supply chain transparency? The answer, D, blockchain. That's right. And, this is another technology that I think doesn't get a lot of sort of coverage or media about. And so being that this is one of the biggest luxury retailers in the world, this may say something about that. A lot of people are always skeptical about these new technologies on the rise, and it's not until they see the majors using it that they start to take it seriously. So hopefully today you heard about a couple of those technologies that you weren't seriously considering, and now you may be considering it for your business. Yeah, boom. Boom, as Barry says. Boom. Blockchain boom. All right. Cool. All right, we're going to get down to the fifth question of the day. LinkedIn Live Trivia Quiz Challenge. What is the name of Elon Musk's brain-computer interface company? Is it A, Neuralink, B, NutraBrain, C, BrainLink, or D, NogginNet? Vote your answers below. What is the name of Elon Musk's brain-computer interface company? A, Neuralink, B, NutraBrain, C, BrainLink, or D, NogginNet? So imagine you're in your Tesla, and while you're driving autonomously in your Tesla, you're connected to your NogginNet, which is connected to the Starlink internet satellites. And your house is solar panels by Solar City. And then you go to your job on Mars via the SpaceX Dragon or whatever shuttle, the BFR, the big frickin' rocket. What do you think, LinkedIn Live? Neuralink, NutraBrain, BrainLink, or NogginNet? All right, I'm about to give the answer here. Adam says blockchain confuses most. It's often confused with crypto. That's a very good point. Blockchain is not crypto. Crypto runs potentially on a blockchain. Quentin, Adam, Mohit, Paul. Shout out to everybody out there still tuned in on LinkedIn Live, rocking it over here. All right, let's announce the answer for this brain-computer interface. And if you don't know what a brain-computer interface is, Elon has said that Neuralink perhaps is the solution, or the only hope, maybe even, that we have against AI. Because basically, how do we consume information in 2018? Through our eyes. Our computer vision reads information at the speed of our ability to read text and watch videos, which has a time limit. And depending on who produced it, it can be edited down. But that's our sort of cable or direct connection to information and data. And so the idea is that with Neuralink, if we were to connect our brain to information, and we could learn in real time, a la Matrix. Do you know how to drive a helicopter? I do now. Without that direct interface plugging into a computer, we don't stand a chance at the rate of evolution that AI will have. So that means, this is, don't quote me, this is from Elon, right? But that's what a brain-computer interface is. And so, yeah. You mean Elon's interplanetary business systems? Adam says, thank you, Elon. All right. Let's give away the answer here. The one that's burning our brains. Get it? All right. What is the name of Elon Musk's brain-computer interface? A. Neuralink, B. NutriBrain, C. BrainLink, or D. NogginNet? Sadly, it is not NogginNet. Sadly, it's not NutriBrain. That's actually a play on Nutri-Grain. Like breakfast bars or whatever, like blueberry. And what's the other ones that we got up here? BrainLink. It's not BrainLink, so it could only be Neuralink. And there you go. So supposedly we'll hear some news from Elon on that soon, but until then, we'll have to just stick with his autonomous driving vehicles and his drilling under the ground with boring company and flamethrowers and space shuttles and satellite internet and Neuralink. And I heard crypto candy is something which I don't even want to know what it is, to be honest. Yep. And on that last vein of crypto there, I'm going to throw it in there because we didn't have time to put it as part of a story, but Nike has registered something called Crypto Kicks, which uses a combination of blockchain, crypto, and AI, if you want a bunch of buzzwords there. So Nike, so, you know, I'm not sure what business you guys are in out there, but just remember that, you know, it's better to think about these things early on, how these systems can, you know, help you in business or help you develop as a potential candidate for a company. It's good to see these things years in advance so you can prepare yourself for change, and it could turn out really great. So, you know, if you guys have any questions about stuff like that, you can either hit me in the comments below or send me a direct message, or you can hit up the email, which is info@thedigitalasset.com, and you know, we can talk. And yeah, we're going to be introducing some guest interviews soon, so, you know, make sure that you continue watching every Wednesday at 10. If we're not lit up by 10, then we're starting at 10:30 until we fix the time. And really, I want to thank everyone that's out there who's watching, and which makes this show worth doing and preparing for and showing up for is you guys out there. I mean, I'm so impressed with the answers and responses that I hear. And there's so many smart people on LinkedIn, and I'm so happy and grateful that LinkedIn gave us this opportunity to use live to connect with you guys, and to discuss these really important topics that will affect us all of humanity. So we try to have a little bit of fun here, but these are very serious topics. But yeah, to sum it up, we love you long time. Thank you so much for tuning in. And this is Sebastian Perez from The Digital Acid signing out. See you guys next time.